So today we're going to talk about the topic of self-pleasure because it's Masturbation May, and we chose the term self-pleasure because it is, for me, it resonates more because it doesn't just refer to touching our genitals and reaching climax. So because for a lot of us there's a disconnect to that aspect of our sexuality. So self-pleasure in general is just a beautiful gift to give ourselves, and masturbation does have some etymological roots of meaning self-harm, which kind of go back to the whole religion thing, which we'll get into a little bit later on. But first we're going to go over to Adrienne, and she's going to talk to us about nutrition and self-pleasure.
Yeah, hi everybody. I think my segment is going to be a little bit smaller in comparison to the wide range of things we're going to talk about with self-pleasure, especially with Kristin. So I'm just going to touch upon some aphrodisiac foods and things that we can include in our diet to help us boost our libido and get the juices flowing. So what we want to look for in our foods, if anybody tuned into our Yoni talk a couple weeks ago when we talked about vaginal lubrication or Yoni lubrication, it's kind of similar. So you want to look for foods that stimulate and kind of like improve your circulation of your blood flow. You want to look for foods that are good for your brain and your nervous system, and you want to look for foods that help balance out your hormones. So not only foods, but there are also herbs that are available to do that. So I'm just going to talk about the herbs, the foods, and then there are some really beautiful essential oils as well that you can use. We're just having some technical difficulties, so just give me a minute before I get into those.
Sorry, everybody. Maybe should I put on my title?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
It's okay. Technical difficulties.
As usual.
As usual.
Bali internet. Okay.
Bali internet. Okay. Just checking we're now live. Okay. Sorry about that, everybody. So we've got aphrodisiac herbs, foods, and essential oils. So some of the herbs that are really good for boosting your libido is maca root. And you can find that in a powder or a tea form. And it's really great with the powder. You can mix it into smoothies. With teas, obviously, you can drink as a tea. But this is known as the Peruvian Viagra. Say that 5 times fast. So it is thought to increase energy, stamina, and fertility. And it's rich in magnesium and fiber. And it's just really good for our nervous system, helping us to relax, the fiber with digestion, and helping us boost our libido. The second one is ginseng. So it's naturally to help our libido and sexual performance. And then the third one is fenugreek. So this is really important for the sex hormones that are responsible for the breast enlargement in women. But it's also boosts sex drive, particularly in females. So those are the 3 herbs that are really good. There are more, but to keep this short and sweet, I just wanted to share some of the herbs that are really good for immune boosting, which are maca, fenugreek, and ginseng. The foods that are really good for boosting your libido are avocados. So they're really rich in B vitamins and folic acid, and it helps increase testosterone production for men, and it helps us strengthen us as women, strengthen the vaginal walls. So it's really important for our libido. Chocolate, you're welcome. Particularly cacao, and chocolate that's over 75% cacao. So I've written about this a lot before as well. There's so many benefits. It's rich in magnesium, helps us to relax. It helps us, like if you ever eat chocolate and you feel the orgasmic feeling, like that just boosts libido in itself. It sends blood to the sexual organs. And it helps kind of relax us, but also stimulate the nervous system for those kind of feelings. So there's so many benefits to eating the dark chocolate and the dark cacao, particularly 75% or more. Omega-3 fatty acids are really important. So foods like salmon, eggs, walnuts as well are super important. They help boost the libido and strengthen vaginal walls. And foods that contain zinc. So zinc is really important to boosting our libido. So things like oysters, bananas, pumpkin seeds, stuff like that. So you want to, especially the oysters and the pumpkin seeds. And one last thing is garlic. Like you'd think that was totally detrimental to our sex life just because of, somebody eats garlic and you kiss them and it's really strong, but it's actually really good for our sex drive. And it's really good for us as women because it's a natural antifungal and antibacterial as well, which is really good for our yonis, especially if you're suffering from candida or any kind of vaginal infection, and it helps boost our immune system. Mm. So those are the 5 foods that I wanted to summarize. And there are 3 essential oils. I mean, there are so many, but just to kind of keep this short and sweet, there are 3 essential oils that I love to use. I'm wearing 2 of them right now, which is rose and patchouli. I always wear patchouli oil. It's my favorite. And as well as ylang ylang. Am I saying that right?
Yeah.
Ylang ylang. So it all helps relax our nervous system and boost those feel-good hormones and our libidos. And that's it.
Awesome.
I'm gonna be posting about this as well on my Instagram, just kind of summarizing all those things. So just keep an eye out for that. And we're still having technical difficulties, which I feel.
It's strange.
It's really strange.
Like this.
Is your data turned off?
Well, I did it with data
on.
I tried every way, and they've all been bad. That off, that on, that on, that off.
Okay.
Look, it's not working either.
That's so weird.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, the good thing is I've got this video on, and I can send it to you afterwards.
Okay.
Okay. So I'd also. Do you want me to pass it over to you now?
Yeah.
Sure. Okay.
So today I'm going to talk about self-pleasure and the many benefits of self-pleasure. And again, not necessarily regarding masturbation or touching our genitals, because as I mentioned, for many of us, that isn't a thing that we're desiring right now, but that doesn't mean that you can't self-pleasure. So depending on where you sit on the scale of, okay, I self-pleasure every day or every week, and I feel totally okay with that, with or without a partner, and to the opposite end where it's like, I have not touched my yoni for years, and I don't feel comfortable touching my yoni, or I've never had an orgasm before. So there's varying ways that we express our self-pleasure and ways that we can connect to it. So I'm going to first just talk a little bit about self-pleasure in general and the benefits, etc. And then we're going to go into a self-pleasure practice where I'm going to start really gently and end with something really, really profound. And then it's up to you where you would like to draw different things from. So if you're on one end of the spectrum where you never give yourself any self-pleasure, then you can just take these little things for yourself that are quite gentle but a really beautiful thing to give to ourselves, especially as we're often giving so much. And if you're on the opposite end of the spectrum and you self-pleasure every day or every week, but it's like a kind of a quick fix, or it's the same every time, or you haven't explored internally, then maybe you can take other aspects of the practice and incorporate them into your own. So self-pleasure has many benefits. It relaxes the nervous system. Our stress levels go down. We can connect in with ourselves. We can understand ourselves better. From a very young age, it's natural for a child to reach as soon as they can reach for their genitals, because we're a pleasure-driven species, or a desire-driven species, and we go towards pleasure and away from pain. And there's actually evidence now that unborn babies reach for their genitals in the womb, and some studies suggesting that there's potential for orgasm in the womb, that they've seen like a light up between the genitals and the part of the brain that lights up when we experience pleasure and orgasm. So it's our birthright, and unfortunately that has been corrupted through different beliefs and ideals, religious beliefs and ideals, and yeah, and a lot of parents aren't educated on how to tell their child that it's okay to self-pleasure. So this kind of leads to, even if it's not a religious family, the child, kind of thinking that it's a bad thing or a taboo thing or naughty, and this in and of itself can create issues down the track. But it's just, when I've seen time and time again, it's especially true for those, both men and women, that have been brought up in religious households. I've had one sister tell me that she had to confess when she self-pleasured to a priest. So some older man that she was telling that she didn't know, this natural part of life, of experiencing pleasure, and this guilt and shame that's been attached to pleasure. It's the quickest way to control the species because it's our innate drive, and of course it's still going to be there no matter what we're told externally. And so, this shame and guilt that we have surrounding this natural part of our being, is a really easy way to sorry, my phone's just not happening. To control people. And so another example is a lot of people are feeling that they can't self-pleasure when they're in a relationship. This is not necessarily linked to religion, but there can be some aspects because a lot of religions kind of say that it's just for procreation, and so if we're self-pleasuring in a relationship, then it's like, well, you should be making love and potentially having a child.
Or pleasuring your partner instead of yourself.
Yeah, or pleasuring your partner instead of yourself. And exactly. And it's, some people just feel that disconnect in general, and they've never developed that relationship with themselves from a young age, so they go into a relationship not knowing how to pleasure themselves, and not knowing how to guide their lover to pleasure them as well. And so self-pleasuring that way is such a beautiful self-education tool, where we can understand our pleasure deeply. We form these neural pathways to access our pleasure. And when we can do that ourselves, it's so much easier to do it with a lover. So if you're experiencing difficulty in reaching orgasm with your lover and you haven't got a self-pleasure practice, that's probably the first thing that I would recommend if it's possible to you. And that can begin with something really, really light and gentle. It doesn't need to be gentle focused. And the benefits of partner, so mutual masturbation is such a beautiful thing that we can do, but often we're not self-pleasuring while we're in a relationship because we feel like we should be doing it with our partner, but also not self-pleasuring in front of our partners because we might feel shy. And it's such a beautiful gift to give our partner because they get to see us in our pleasure and get to see us owning our pleasure and taking responsibility for our pleasure and even see how we like to be touched. So it's such a beautiful practice to do with our lover. So pleasure in general for women is a natural lubricant. As I said before, our nervous system gets to relax a little bit, and our stress and anxiety levels too. And when that happens, our libido increases, and that can mean so many different things for different women. What brings you pleasure? For me, I love hanging out with good friends and having belly laughs and my mind stimulated. I love having sensuous experiences. So laying in the sun, feeling the sun on my skin, getting a massage, eating delicious food, meditating as well, like mind calming stuff. Like all these things bring me pleasure, and that they are a natural lubricant for women. And when we eliminate the stresses in our lives, that's when the libido goes up. So it's not necessarily the same for men, but for women, it's really important for us to feel safe and for our stress levels to be low. And it's pretty much like a brake and accelerator for women. The stress, however much stress there is how much our foot will be on the brake.
Can I add on that? Yeah. I've been talking a lot about this and how we can self-pleasure, the different ways we can pleasure ourselves that aren't through masturbation, and that we can enjoy. It's about allowing yourself to enjoy these things in your life, because I feel like we were talking always about guilt and shame, and we're so hard on ourselves when it comes to like, oh, I shouldn't eat this chocolate because it's bad for me, or I shouldn't have this piece of cake because it's too much calories, or I shouldn't do this and I should do that and I shouldn't. And it's just so detrimental to the health of our soul and our yonis as women, and to our sexual health and libido. we both make Sundays. We both have a dedicated day, and we make a dedicated time to have a self-pleasure day where we just allow ourselves to enjoy all of our favorite things in moderation, though it's very, very important to mention that. But like yesterday, for example, we went to the beach, but before that we had breakfast at our favorite cafe, and we treated ourselves to a piece of cake that we shared, and we had our favorite breakfast, and then we went to the beach at our favorite spot, and
like
just
7 hours,
like all day, and it was
guilty.
not feeling guilty, and just like indulging in that. And that just for ourselves was so important. And that's how we give, like I am giving pleasure to that's a part of my self-pleasure practice. But it also can be, I had a friend recently say to me, you talk a lot about self-pleasure and how it's very self-focused, but what about giving to others? And I said, if that's a part of what makes you happy and it brings you joy to serve others or to give to others, absolutely, like that will increase your happy hormones, relax your nervous system, and boost your libido naturally when you're doing things that you love and that you feel good about. But you also need to make sure that it is in balance and moderation, and making sure that you're filling your cup first before you can fill anyone else's cup. I always use the example of being on an airplane. You can't put the oxygen mask on someone else first. You have to put it on yourself first. So it's the same thing in this kind of a situation. And again, just saying self-pleasure doesn't necessarily need to be masturbation and stimulation, but it can be also just allowing yourself to enjoy your favorite things. Eat the cake, okay? Eat the chocolate, get the ice cream, drink the glass of wine. But again, it's as long as it's in moderation and you're being mindful about it, it's so healthy and so important to maintain a self-pleasure practice in that way.
And yeah, self-pleasure to you might be like getting a whole bunch of vegetables together and cooking yourself a super healthy meal, and it doesn't need to be cake, or it doesn't need to be the naughty things. But for us, we're so fucking good with our diet. It's like, whoa, we're doing something so wild right now. We're having cake. What the fuck?
It's so naughty.
It's so naughty. It's so enjoyable, and it's so nice to just to motivate each other as well, to be like, to not feel bad, just to enjoy it. And then also going back to what you said about giving to others, if that's something that gives you pleasure, of course, it's so beautiful. And I feel like that's something in me that I really enjoy to do. But at the same time, I know that women in general are givers in so many aspects of our lives, and that's why it's so important to just, especially for mums, to just like give to yourself. You might not even realize how much you're giving. And our practice that we're about to go into, like, if you see like what we give to ourselves and how we can actually give to you all when we do, and how we do, is probably something that hasn't even occurred to you before, to just touch yourself or to give to yourself or to love yourself in that way. So it might be, but oftentimes I find that if I ask a woman, have you massaged your breast before, or when it's like, no, I haven't, and it hadn't even occurred to me. It's like, yeah, well, we're giving from this place so much, this loving, the milk of human kindness, this beautiful energy that we're constantly giving to those around us. It's often invisible. So with that being said, I think that's pretty much everything off my list of topics. We're going to save questions to the end if you have any questions. Otherwise, we're going to go into a little self-pleasure practice. Adrienne is going to be my model or
assistant.
Yeah, assistant. Demonstrator-ish. not too
demonstrate.
Yeah.
You get what we need.
So, you're gonna need your Yoni egg and coconut oil. Or any oil, or you don't usually?
No, I don't really need the oil.
Okay, so we're going into a Yoni egg practice, which begins with, yay, this is a rose quartz Yoni egg. There are 3 different types. We'll probably go into Yoni egg specifics in a post or something, because it's not really we're talking about it here, to be honest. We don't want to overwhelm. Yes, so you can see she has this Yoni egg. She's cleaned it. Again, we'll go into, if you're interested, just message us and we can give you more information about Yoni egg and your Yoni egg practice beyond what we give here. She has a string inside, organic, toxic-free dental floss or silk works really well. And I usually use an oil, but you can use your saliva, which is also a really beautiful thing to use for lubrication. And we would begin first with some self-love. So you can place your egg back on the altar. Yeah, perfect. And then we'll just get back to this Instagram live, not live.
I wonder if I don't know why you keep having these difficulties with your okay.
So what we'll begin with is a breast massage. So are you okay to give us a breast massage? We'll just do a really quick demonstration. If you can do it at the same time, that would be awesome. Men, if you're watching, also really important to give yourself a breast massage. It's pretty much the best thing that you can do for your breast health. I go deeper into this in other posts and in my online breast care course. But we'll just give you a quick demonstration. So if you place your hands on top of your breasts, and it's really beautiful because the heart meridian comes down here into the palm of the hand, so you're connecting in with your heart. And you can just do 36 circles, one direction, both go in the same direction.
Oh God,
yes,
coordinated.
yeah, one way, and then you'll do 36 the other way. So
36.
Yeah, so it's a Taoist practice. 36 is the number of the sun energy, and so you bring in the masculine sun energy into the breast. So it's like a balance. It's really,
it feels really nice.
Yeah, it's really beautiful.
It's very like comforting.
Oh yeah, it's so
like
nice.
Yeah,
it's so beautiful. So if you go the other way, 36 times the other way. And then another real kind of quick one is just a figure 8, which is really hormone balancing. So you'd be doing a figure 8.
Oh God,
yes.
For me that's unclear.
Yes, you can do it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Perfect. Wonderful.
Coordinated.
You can do that however many times feels good for you. And then if you're experiencing lots of lumps in your breast, you kind of want to go with the lymph flow. So downwards and outwards is the best for you. You don't really want to go up too much because you're going against the flow of the lymph. And then, so you can just do that for a couple of minutes. Doesn't need to be long. You can do it forever. You can do it. It's obviously much better without clothes on. Put some oil in your hands, your favorite oil, organic oil. Put your favorite essential oils in there as well, and give yourself a breast massage. So that is a beautiful practice. It starts like the nipples are connected to the same region as in the brain as the clitoris, so it's like activate. You're probably starting to feel a little bit euphoric, maybe. Yeah. I am, and I barely even touch my breath. So it's such a beautiful way to connect in with the yoni, and you don't even have to. It's nothing too crazy, and it's beneficial for your breast health. Then you can lie back, prop yourself up on some pillows. You comfy?
Yes.
Okay,
No.
comfy.
Wait. Okay.
There we go. Yeah. Okay. And so now you can just start with some gentle touch. So really conscious, gentle touch on your skin. So for women, this is our biggest sex organ. It's so sensitive, and we can really connect in with ourselves in this way. It doesn't have to be erotic. It can just be so big. You can start doing some out breaths out of the mouth, sounding out some out breaths. Yeah. And it just in itself, it's such a simple practice, but it's so beautiful to connect in, and you can start feeling endorphins starting to be released in the body, and it's just a really gentle practice. So now it's nice to start giving yourself a little bit of a foot massage. So I can show you on Adrienne's foot, maybe where, or I can show you on that. So on that, so if you go to the ankle, here the ankle bone, and here's the heel. Halfway in between the ankle bone and the heel is the pressure point for the ovaries. So you just want to do like a 3 out of 10 pressure here. And then if you go across the top of the foot, that's the fallopian tube, to exactly the same spot on the other side, which is the uterus. So this is why certain parts of foot massages are no good for pregnant women, because it can affect the womb. So it's nice to give yourself a little foot massage there. Then you can come up to the inner thighs and just give yourself a little squeeze on the inner thighs. So this is often where excess estrogen is stored, so giving yourself a little massage in here. And then come up to the womb. So the womb is just above the pubic bone. So if you touch the pubic bone and then push just above it, you'll have the bladder directly underneath your fingers, but then behind that the womb. So you can just do some like little presses in there, like gentle, maybe like you do even a 4 out of 10 to a 6 out of 10. There can be a lot of tension in there, and it's really beautiful to bring some blood flow into that region. So once you've done that a few times, you don't have to go too deeply into it. Then you can just rest your right hand on the womb, left hand on your heart, or the other way around, whichever's comfortable for you. And just take a few breaths. It's really important to open up the throat, open up the jaw. The throat is directly linked to the cervix, and so the more we can open up our throat and our jaw as well, we can really relax the womb. And yeah, you might even want to give yourself a little massage in here in the jaw. It's a really beautiful thing to do as well to help relax the yoni. So while you're here, you can even sort of ask yourself, are you ready for any kind of self-touch or self-pleasure of the actual yoni itself, so of the vulva? If you're feeling a yes, then you can put some oil on your hands. We don't have oil, but you don't have to do that. You put some oil on your hands and just start giving yourself a little massage on the outside of your yoni. So here you can see this is the outer labia, inner labia, clitoral hood, clitoris. Depending on what kind of practice you're wanting to have, my egg is inside already. You can do a bit more clitoral work if you want to, or less. And then once you feel you've massaged the outside of your vulva enough, then you can take your egg, this is yours, and you can put saliva on it, or you can put your organic oil on it. So we've talked about oils before. Grapeseed, coconut oil, they're nice ones to use. Then you can place it on your hands or on your body. So I like to put it on my womb or in between my breast and my heart, and just wait for it to get nice and warm, especially if you're living somewhere where it's cold. And then once she's nice and warm, if you need to put some more oil on, you can put some more oil on or saliva on, and then you just rest the big side with the string coming out this side at the entrance of your yoni. Yeah, I'll do it. Okay. So I'll give you a demonstration here, and Adrienne is going to.
I'm going to actually do it.
Actually do it.
Yeah. Yeah. But you can't see.
You can't see. Yeah.
But I'm going to do it. You'll know that it's happening.
Yeah. So just at the entrance of the yoni like this. And the thing is, with the yoni, she's actually able to sip in. So we're used to kind of shoving a tampon in, or sometimes unconsciously putting our fingers in, or a lingam inside, or a toy inside. And while we're able to, urinate and we're able to give birth, we're also able to sip in. So if you just place the egg at the entrance of the yoni, depending on where you're at and how you're feeling, is whether or not you'll feel a sipping kind of sensation. And once you do feel that, then it's like, okay, I can help and push in a little bit. If you're not feeling the sipping sensation, you can check in with your yoni. Are you actually ready to have the egg inside you? If you're feeling in your body a no, then it's a beautiful practice to honor it. If you're like, well, I just did all this preparation and I still want to, then that's okay too. Obviously, you've got sovereignty over your body and what you want to do, but it is a really nice practice to honor our yeses and nos. And so then you can just gently let the egg go inside with a little bit of guidance and push it in like you would a tampon, and she will go wherever she needs to go. And so I really connect to the spirit of the crystal that I'm using and ask that she's gentle or whatever it is, and that's a whole other topic in of itself, but this is just pretty much the practice. And so then once it's inside, you can just sit with that a bit, get used to it, depending on whether or not you do this all the time or you've done it before. And then it's finished. I have one moment. I'll continue in a second. Oh, what's that? So then there are a couple of different practices that you can do. One is while you're laying on your back. So you bend both knees with your feet on the floor and just gently tap your pelvis. So lifting your pelvis up and tapping it on the ground or on the bed. So the ground would be better because it's a bit more of a
Yeah, and I would do it on the bed, but I'm afraid that our technical setup is going to go flying.
yeah. So that's a really beautiful one. And then next, you could prop yourself up on one arm and lay on your back. Yeah, but prop yourself up. And then use the other hand to hold the string. And then when you breathe in, you would pull on the string and gently hold with your yoni muscles.
I'm trying to find the string.
I know.
Okay, here it is. I found it.
So you would gently squeeze around the egg, breathe in, and gently pull on the string. And so for some sisters, this is a little bit painful, depending on what's going on in your yoni. So just take it really easy. If that's not the case for you, then that's fine. You can pull a little bit harder. And then once you breathe out, you release the muscles. Actually, even try and push the egg out and release the string.
I'm trying to without laying the egg. Without laying the egg.
Yeah. So you breathe in, squeeze, pull, out, release, let go. So you do this 10, 20 times, whatever feels good to you. And then I'll just give you one more practice. Something that you can do that's really easy is you lift up one leg, like tabletop situation, and the other one as well. And then you would just let one go down at a time. So touch with one up. Yeah. And
I don't know if people can see it.
Oh yeah, so kind of like this with your legs. Yeah. And that, and then one down at a time. Yeah. So like one up, down, up, up. Yeah, and down, up with the same. Down,
okay.
Up. Yeah. Sorry,
my
instructions. Yeah. And so, yeah, that's another one. And then there are many, many more that I go into in my courses that we can do. And yeah, and then you'd leave it in throughout the day. It's really nice to go to yoga, really nice to go to any kind of hip moving dances with. Obviously, you'd wear underwear if you're not a practitioner, or you haven't been doing it for a long time, or maybe you're totally fine. You have a yoni like me that just goes.
That's what's happening with me right now.
Yeah. He's like, oh yeah.
What about self-pleasuring further, like now starting to stimulate the clitoris?
Yeah, so this is kind of like a yoni egg practice that we can do throughout our day. If you want to then go into your self-pleasure practice, whatever that is for you, then that's beautiful as well. So I'm trying to cover you.
Oh,
can
I sit up now?
Yeah, yes, yeah. So yeah, that's amazing point. Like it's so beautiful to self-pleasure with the egg inside. I've also got this that I use for that. So I just place this inside, this touches my cervix, and then I self-pleasure. And there's many different ways that you can do that. You know, there's self-pleasuring where you take 2 hours where you get really close to orgasm and then you stop. And then breathe the energy up. You can just lay and breathe with the egg and squeeze the perineum. So it's like breathe in, squeeze out, release, and that's really beautiful in itself. You can just have an orgasm, which you normally would do, however that is for you. You can use other tools that are like G-spot stimulators, cervical stimulators. Like this for me, I don't really move around because it's glass. So I prefer things that are like medical grade silicone to move around. Can I? Yeah.
Show I also like to use.
Woo!
I call him Tarzan. My vibrator. So
nice.
This is like, it's a clitoral stimulator as well as it goes inside and it stimulates the G-spot. So I like to use that. I don't put it inside. I just use it as clitoral stimulation when I have a yoni egg in, and it just adds to the pleasure part of the practice, especially just knowing that I have my yoni egg inside. It's very healing as well.
Yeah.
So it's not just about the pleasure and the beautiful feeling of orgasm, but it also just adds to the consciousness of it, the mindfulness of it, and it is a very healing practice.
Totally.
Yeah.
So yeah, internal self-exploration is beautiful too. So if you're not using a yoni egg and you want to use your fingers, it's so beautiful to find the different parts of our yoni. It's quite difficult to reach some parts. So squatting makes cervical work much easier because the cervix comes down. Doing cervix work before we get too aroused, because the cervix actually moves up inside the yoni when we're really aroused, so that makes it more difficult to find. But again, there are tools that can help you do that. Yeah, noticing the yoni when she changes throughout your arousal response. So she starts getting really puffy, and the G spot moves, and it changes shape and size. Yeah, it's really profound. And you know, whether you're doing it for a pleasure practice, an orgasmic practice, a healing practice, just making that connection is important in general. And you know, and if you're finding any pain in your yoni, it's really beautiful to kind of map that out and to go into those areas, and just giving yourself like a daily touch in that region can ease that pain and help it to dissolve, and then become a place of pleasure and erogenous zone for you again.
Can I add something? I think this practice is really nice for people who have experienced trauma. We store a lot of trauma in our wombs and in our yonis, and for people who have ever experienced any kind of sexual trauma or trauma because of recovering from an STD, for example. Like, for example, with me, I have herpes. If you've been following me for a while, I have herpes, and it took me a really long time to be able to come to the point where I felt comfortable in my self-pleasure practice. And I noticed that a lot of people who are experiencing that have the same troubles. So this is a really gentle practice, especially with the yoni egg and these beautiful like crystals and wands. It's just really a part of your self-love, and it's very healing. A part of your self-love practice and self-pleasure practice. It's just so healing because you can take it at your own pace. You're doing it with mindfulness, consciousness, and awareness, and it can be super healing. So it's a beautiful practice for those who have been through some trauma as well.
Totally. And yeah, there's so much to go into on this. This is just like one thing that I picked out of what the many different things, but you know, our pleasure response changes throughout our cycle, it changes throughout our life, it changes throughout our experiences, and it's really important to know that we're perfect and okay in that. And if what we're saying now doesn't even resonate, that's okay. You're okay, you're not broken. Maybe one day it will, maybe one day it won't, and that's okay. It's really important to know that, you know, for some people, pleasure, sex, and these things are really important, and for other people it's not, and that's okay as well. Like, some people just have a lower sex drive than others, and you're not broken, you don't need to be fixed. There are ways, if you're interested, there are ways to reconnect to your pleasure and to understand your pleasure, and that's only something if it's something within you that you feel, not something that you should feel you're being told to need or to want. So yeah, I think that's everything. That's a good one. 43 minutes.
Yeah.
Nice.
I mean, I'm really happy because I've got my yoni egg in, and I'm gonna go throughout my day like this. Makes me feel a little naughty because I feel like I've got like a little secret, like a little self-pleasure secret.
Me too. I feel exactly the same. I'm like, when we're at dance hall, we're doing all the hit stuff, I'm like, oh yeah. Yeah, because it's so beautiful. Like, it brings subtle sensations into the yoni, and that a lot of the time I'm missing because we're so often taught to be so goal-oriented in our sexual experiences and have orgasm, these big profound orgasms, whereas there's so much more potential inside the yoni of blissful states and
healing,
subtle pleasure sensations that can be like really profound.
Yeah,
I've even had an orgasm in my eyelash before. Like, in here, I've had orgasms. I have orgasms in my heart all the time. Like, if I cry, if I laugh, if I sing, there's like a whole other world of pleasure that we can explore. And this is like scraping the surface. Yes.
The key is to pay attention to it, and again, allow yourself to enjoy it, and allow yourself to really feel it and feel into it, because that's when the pleasure happens. You know, we tend to do these things so quick because we're always on them, so busy all the time in our lifestyles. But it's like, you really got to kind of take a step back and enjoy this for yourself to really like feel it, and that's when it's super healing.
Totally.
Yeah. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining our Yoni talk on self-pleasure. Again, like Kristin said, there's so much we could talk about, but just in the interest of time and keeping it within an hour at least, that's what we wanted to share with you today. But we'll follow up on Instagram. I'll post about the Aphrodisiac foods and herbs and oils that you can use as a natural aphrodisiac. And if you have any questions about Yoni eggs or Yoni egg practice, please message my beautiful friend Kristin, Yonilicious. She is so knowledgeable in all of that, as you can tell from our demonstration. That was just like she said, scratching the surface of it. So we do these Yoni talks every week where we offer different information on women's empowerment, women's health through natural and holistic ways. And next week, what are we going to be talking about? We'll talk about that next week. We'll keep you posted. Oh yeah, it's a surprise. I like that. Yeah. Next week at this time every week, join us on our Yoni Talks where we offer lots of valuable information. And next week it's going to be a surprise. So stay tuned. You never know with us what we're going to come up with.
We'll do a competition, and if you can guess what it's about, you'll win something.
Ooh. Yeah. Winning something?
Yes.
Thank you so much.